If there is yield, there is risk. That's my, like, if you're making money, there is risk. You don't make money. That's simple.
Yeah.
Always.
And you're being paid for that risk. So there's a reason why you get 5, 6, 7% yields, because there's a risk. If you know it, that's okay. But a lot of people just think, I'm putting my money there and I'm just getting,
and it's guaranteed.
yield.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Like I said in the podcast, if it's guaranteed, they're guaranteed to steal your money.
Now let's pivot a little bit, and this is where I want to get a little bit personal, little bit in,
Go for
and
it.
it's getting so you have a lot of reach in eToro, right? You have a lot of reach. I think more than 500 people copy you. You're the second most copied person in Singapore, which is, fantastic feat.
Thank you.
And also your following seems to be your community seems to be very engaging with you, right? Yeah. So I'm guessing a lot of people are wondering in this case, and I'll give you the video to post for you as well on this, but my question is like, what are you doing? So what do you see people talking about within your community? What are the biggest comments that you're getting? How are your copiers acting, and what are you doing within your portfolio this year during this downturn in order to take advantage of this, right?
Sure. Okay, so in terms of my portfolio, what I tend to do is I tend to get involved in projects. Generally in the bear markets, I'm a big accumulator of crypto, right? And what I try to do is I try to use the bear market as a way to accumulate more Bitcoin, right? And then as the cycle plays out, then I will go more and more into altcoins. And then as altcoins start to do really well, then what I do is I start to take some profits as they go up. So the way I see it, like a lot of people, as the price goes up, they think, oh, right, I've got to get involved because there's momentum behind it, etc. I see more risk the higher the price is. Yeah.
Correct.
So I'm constantly, when things are near the top, so I'll give you an example in 2021, in the last quarter 3, quarter 4, I was trimming my altcoin positions quite significantly. And I'll probably do that again in this cycle as well. So I see more risk the higher the prices are, and the deeper we are into this 4-year cycle. Yeah, it's more of a risk. What I see a lot of from not just copiers, but just maybe the eToro community, and for people that are kind of new to crypto, they don't see opportunity when the prices are going down, because I think for a lot of people, it's a very long stage, the crypto cycle. So the bear markets last a very long time. The bull markets are very much up and down, but it's very short periods of time where they shoot up to these levels that they shoot up to. So in terms of time, they feel like they're down for longer than they're up, if you understand what I mean. And I think people don't necessarily see opportunity when prices go down. So what I think you should do is you should be accumulating bear markets consistently, right? Don't try and catch the bottoms. You don't know what the bottoms are going to be, but you have a fair understanding that things are at good value, right? And then, but if you are to invest in bull markets, you should invest in the dips. So, for example, now there's been a fairly significant dip in both altcoin prices and in Bitcoin prices. So if you didn't have exposure to any of these projects, now is a good time in a bull market to take advantage of a dip. But a lot of my community have been with me for quite a long time. I have quite a long-standing support, and that is because, as you know from one of my YouTube channels is the Approachable Investor. So I try to be as approachable as possible, and I'm always answering questions for them. I do a lot of educational videos. So one thing I have is my podcast, which the main reason I did that was to bring experts on from all over the world, because I used to make videos of just me explaining key concepts. And what I realized is that I'm only one person. I have a quite a broad knowledge, but I'm not an expert in everything. So I bring in these experts in all different subjects, from the stock market to farming to nuclear to crypto to Bitcoin to deep down in the weeds of certain ecosystems as well in crypto, and I bring them on, and it allows my community to be a lot closer and be able to get information that is far more possible than to get from one man.
Yeah. No, I definitely get you on that, Definitely get you on that. Because like as an investor, one of the most important things I think you have to know is understanding what you don't understand.
Yeah.
And accepting that it's like that, and this is where my comment on ignorance comes in, right? Like understanding your own ignorance and then allowing those ignorance to be filled by people that know more about and understand more, and then obviously make your own decisions. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the person that's putting the money at risk is yourself. So you have to make your own decisions. If you're able to talk, discuss, and understand, because I agree with you that when you see the market drop, a lot of people are like panicking, and there is fear. As an investor, when you're seeing the S&P 500 up 10%, and it was like, wow, if I had just sold last week, I would be 10% richer. But the reality is not that. The reality is, like you say, you got to take advantage of those moments and say, okay, this is harvest season. When the markets are in all-time highs, it's harvest season, and then when the diamonds are in all-time lows, it's planting season. So you need to be able to have those targets and say, okay, like what are the companies that I'm paying attention to? What are the companies that I want to potentially buy? Oh, Palantir, really good company. At 120, too expensive. But at 60, we start talking. So that's where it becomes really interesting. Many new investors have to learn this. It's like, hey, take into consideration that the market has risk. The money can go up and money can come down, but you can also buy at lows, So I definitely take that on.
I agree with you. I also just want to say on that as well, is I can always tell how long people have been investing and how much they understand the markets, because one of the common side effects of the market is knowing just a little bit. For people that know just a little bit about the markets, is they tend to talk in absolutes, right? So they say, is the market going to go up next week, or is it going to go up next month, or will it go up in 2025 or whatever? And it's the wrong way of phrasing the question. So the way I always try and teach my community and talk when I talk with people that are less familiar with investing is it's about probabilities. Yeah. So you attach probabilities to certain outcomes on whether it might happen, and then you invest your money accordingly, depending on the weight of your confidence on that particular bet. But to say, is it going up next year? Is it going down next year? There's too many scenarios.
Who knows? You know what I found? The person that guarantees you the market's going to go in the direction that they say, I guarantee you they want to take your money. Yeah, that's the only guarantee I have in the stock market. If you guarantee me that the market's going to go up and I'm going to make 1,000% every single day for the rest of eternity, that guy wants to take your money. That is the only truth I know. Yeah. So I love that. I love that you're telling me that, like the right things, the correct things. It tells me you're a very good investor. You know what you're doing. You understand the risks. You understand the values. As an investor, you have to go through the trenches in order to live them,
And we have to go through bear. And we love risks as well, Nestor, because if there wasn't risks, everything would be market neutral, right? And we wouldn't be able to make any money, right? You've got
scare money, make no money.
Be able to embrace risk, and you need to be able to assess risk to be an investor. And the money is made from assessing the risks.
Agreed. And if you can't sleep at night, you have way too much money in the markets. That's the way that I find it. It's very true. Okay. So we have this thing, at the end. Any other things you want to talk about? Like I'm going to open up the floor to you. Anything you want to share with the community? So I know that you have your 2 YouTube channels. If you want to plug them, you can say. I'll put the links of everything that you mentioned here in the description below for anybody to follow you and make sure to.
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned. So I have 2 things, right? So I have a channel on YouTube called The Approachable Investor. And the main reason is for anyone that is involved in copy trading. Obviously, I have an account, Bees84 on eToro, and I have my own portfolio in which people copy my trades and are invested in me. And it used to be every week. It's been a bit less recently, but I do basically explain how things have been going with my portfolio, and I also sometimes do like quarterly meetings with other popular investors. So that's one channel, which is eToro specific. The other channel is called Achieving Alpha, which I set up just about 10 months ago now. And that is, as I mentioned, to interview some of the best people in the industry, whether they are hedge funds managers or whether they are Bitcoin experts or uranium experts, farming experts, you name it. I've had them all on the show. And that's just a great piece of knowledge, really. So it's an extra piece of knowledge for people to understand more about the markets, being able to link with some quite famous names in the industry and to be able to learn more. So it's a education type tool. So yeah, I recommend, if you haven't already, that's a good channel to subscribe to.
Perfect, for sure. We'll make sure to share all of the links at the bottom, and make sure to even if you're not going to copy, make sure to look at the our portfolio. Make sure to look at our portfolios on eToro, because you can get all of the information all of the positions that we buy. That's the beautiful thing about eToro, is the fact that you have an open book. You know what people are buying, what the top investors in the platform are doing, and you don't have to do anything. You can just go in, buy, and it doesn't cost you anything. So
and more importantly, the results and everything is totally transparent. There's nothing you can hide there, because what you'll see a lot on YouTube and X and other social media platforms is people will only post the good stuff. They'll say, oh, I made this much last week, or I've closed this trade at a squillion% profit. Yeah. And the good thing about eToro is everything's backed up, right? You see the good, the bad, the ugly. You see the good trades, see the bad trades, and then the trades that are on water. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So episode done. This is just a quick fire round. So this is just gonna be quick and easy. Whatever comes to mind, quick and easy. Don't spend too much. Just one or two sentences.
Okay.
One or two sentences. Our coin securities.
Our altcoin securities.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Okay.
No. Let me take that back a little bit. Most of them are securities. There are coins which have some properties which don't make them securities, but a lot of proof of stake coins are securities.
Okay.
If you apply the Howey test to them.
Okay. So you're playing that card. Okay. All right. So is Bitcoin digital gold?
Yes.
All right. It's easy. Is Bitcoin dead?
No. Just started.
Is it just started? Wow. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. The big question goes, is Ethereum dead? You've answered this in the podcast, but
I've answered it. I think there's big risks attached to it. Other ones are taking up more of its market share, and unless things start to change, it could be in danger.
Okay, is Solana the Ethereum killer?
It's making good momentum to be. I also, I'm very positive, as I said, about Sui. So I think Sui could be a while off. I'm not saying they're going to take over in this cycle. They're not. But I think over a couple of cycles, Solana and Sui are real candidates to take over from.
So they better watch their lunch. Okay, perfect. And then last question for many cryptocurrency investors. Where should you keep your coins?
You should keep your coins in cold storage. This is extremely important. We've seen exchanges being hacked by the North Koreans, all sorts of different groups that hack exchanges. And if you're extremely lucky, they might have enough in reserves to be able to make everybody whole. But as we know from FTX, that's not always the case. And they're not always backed one-to-one. So the best thing to know is not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So if you can, put everything in cold storage, because you can still access it when you want and put it back onto exchanges, but you don't have that counterparty risk that you have when you're doing it with a company. And also be careful of the companies as well that provide you yield for storing for the Bitcoin.
Yeah,
that is
very true.
If
there is yield, there is risk. That's if you're making money, there is risk. You don't make money. That simple.
Yeah,
always.
And you're being paid for that risk. So there's a reason why you get 5, 6, 7% yields, because there's a risk.
Okay.
And the last question, but a lot of people just think I'm putting my money there and I'm just getting
and it's guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Yeah.
Like I said in the podcast, if it's guaranteed, they're guaranteed to steal your money.
Agree.
You know? And then the last question that everybody wants to know, and you might know the answer to this. Do you know who Satoshi is?
I don't know who he is, but I would put it down to about 4 to 5 candidates, because it has to be somebody who has the knowledge of developing, had to be involved in kind of cryptography stuff in the very early days, had to be involved in those forums, cryptography forums. I'd put it down to maybe 4 or 5 candidates. I personally think if I had to hazard a guess, I'd probably say it was Adam Back. But that's just my.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Awesome. That's great. That's awesome. Any other questions you want to ask me?
No. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Thanks, Nestor.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much. And yes. Okay, awesome.